Yeah, so basically, I, it's not that I went off the rails last week, but I made like no progress at all, which feels bad because we're kind of now I'm behind the eight ball officially, which
Was
whatever.
it what was it that suffered your eating or the habits in the gym?
Just eating, just eating, um, eating a little bit, like eating food, like eating too much restaurant food, eating too much, not sticking by the methods, just like kind of like being lazy, um and then having like one or two, like, not binge eating but just excessive eating episodes. It's crazy how when you're on a 500 a day deficit, like just
Yeah.
a bad hour here and there you can easily get down 2000 calories.
Yeah, there's not as much room for error when you, especially now we're dialing in the next, it's like month two already. So these months, if you're kind of behind, now you have to, it's not much room for error now. What's left?
Yeah, I have to. I I still am not super preoccupied with like the scale number,
Yeah.
and I feel like a lot leaner, and I'm definitely seeing more definition. But I know that in order to get to the kind of results that I want for us too, because like if I don't make a lot of progress too, then the content's not gonna it's not gonna be so we're not gonna get the attention that we want.
Yeah.
We both need, like, if we both really crush, then it's gonna help our channel a
Yeah,
lot.
the thumbnail will be a big difference if we're kind of flabby and then we're ripped at the end.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So how was the week for you?
It's pretty good. It was my results on the week weren't as good as they have been in the past. Normally, I've been dropping between 1 to 1.6 pounds per week. This week, I didn't do anything like much different as far as like eating and working out. I think my steps were about the same. The only difference is now that I'm dropping more weight and I weigh less than the beginning, I have to, at this point, have to modify my deficit a little bit more. So this is the first week I dropped less than 1 pound. It was around point 0.6 to zero point 0.8 pounds. I weighed 154.5, I think, and last week I was 155.2. So it's not overall bad as far as like the number on the scale goes, which isn't always like the most important thing. I still keep feeling pretty slim in my clothing, which that's like a big
Yeah.
tell right there. Also, this week was a little. I had a lot of temptation this week because of Miami Music Week. So a lot of my friends are out, my roommates out. Um,
Did you wind up doing anything
no,
or
I didn't.
drinking at all?
No, I didn't go out at all. I just
Okay.
stayed. I'm pretty locked in right now.
Yeah.
I know for sure I'm not gonna go out because right now I just have too much things on my mind. Like all the stuff that we're doing outside of like the fitness project for this like 100 days. And
Yeah.
so right now I really don't have much time. I know if I were to go out, even if it was just one night, that would set me back a couple of days.
It really does make a big difference to just say no to everything and stay like fully on track, because
Yeah.
you do get you get you get you lose so much momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I didn't like do anything, like I said, I didn't do anything like horrible last week. I didn't like lose tons of momentum. I just didn't make progress,
Yeah.
which I basically stayed the same. Like, I know if I just eat normal today, I'll probably be like 207 tomorrow. Actually, one day last week I think I was 206. So I know that I'm still doing fine. It's just I really don't want to fall too far behind and then like make it so that the goal is not attainable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because then it's gonna make like your last few weeks like miserable.
Yeah, like it's like we talked about this last week. I'm at the point where it's really not I'm not that hungry
Yeah.
eating in a deficit, and it's just about just making the right decisions,
Mm-hmm.
simple decisions, just over and over and over again, and just avoiding scenarios that you like, avoiding putting yourself in spots where you can make bad decisions, you know?
Yeah, that's what I did. I just looked at the messages and I didn't respond. So that's like the biggest thing I did this weekend, in order to, because I know for sure if I would have gone out and just had that one night, it would have just wrecked me for the weekend. Because I planned this whole week, I was just doing a lot of like content and strategies, as far as like YouTube and Instagram. But I knew like on like between Thursday through Sunday, I just wanted to put a lot of effort into like the static images. So I know I wouldn't have been able to accomplish that or my walking routine if I would have just gone out on the weekend.
Yeah, like for me, and I kind of already corrected in the last few days. My family got back on Friday. Now it's Monday.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like my main, besides just like the grind, like gym, office, family, like the day to day, the only other thing that I do is the poker. And for me, it's basically like, um, there's like two different kinds of poker games that I play.
Mm-hmm.
There's the games in the casino, which are like, I would say, a very sterile environment where it's just like all business. You know, for the most part, there's no drinking or there's minimal drinking.
Yeah.
And
But
there's
you don't drink much, right? When you're
no,
at the
no, no.
games?
I haven't. If I drink, it's one drink.
Yeah.
And I might have one drink every 2 or 3 weeks. So my drinking and then I'll go months without even having a single drink. I don't care about drinking. But like the casino environment is pretty much sterile.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's not anything crazy going on. And then the other games that I play are like the party games where it's in a condo or somebody's house, and there's like a chef, there's like everyone's taking shots. It's a much different environment. And even though I don't drink, I mean, sometimes I do. Like I drank some tequila at a party game like 2 weeks ago. The massage girls are like trying to get everybody drunk, and not in like a nefarious way, just to have fun.
Yeah.
But that environment, even though I don't drink a lot or even at all, it still kind of gets me into like a party mindset.
Yeah.
Of like YOLO, and I'm around people who are just like gambling and drinking, and
you're being social and you don't want to be like the one, like the square,
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of really impacts you more than you think. I think there's like even if I only play for 5 hours, there's like a residual effect of being in an environment like that where kind of everyone's just like letting loose and just not being so disciplined and strict, and it kind of like stays with you for maybe even a couple of days, definitely like at least the next day, and and then you might, if you have a little alcohol, then that's bad for progress, and then you might eat a little bit of extra food, which is obviously bad, and then you wake up feeling meh, and then you might not be great the next day. So I think we talked about this before too. Like for me, it's limiting the amount of poker I'm playing, and probably completely limiting to only the casino games,
Yeah, I think one of the hardest parts on this journey, at this point where we're at, it's not so much the small details, because we both know what we have to do in order to accomplish where we want to get. I think it's more about controlling like the social aspect of it. In my case, it's a little bit easier because I don't have to necessarily go out and like you do it for fun, but also like networking. In this point right now, I'm just like strictly focused on. It's easier in my case. Easier, yes and no. Easier as far as like I have the discipline at the moment, but also because I don't have a lot of these other factors around me that are going to sway my opinion.
Yeah, like I know what you mean. You have like ultimate freedom. Like you don't have any family, you don't have kids. You basically, the only thing you have to do is make sure that you fulfill your obligations to me and all the work that we have, and that's it. You don't have to be anywhere at any specific time, right? You could just bounce. If you're feeling temptation about anything at one place, you can just make up a story and just walk out and leave. You know what I mean? Houdini. So no one can really get mad at you. So on the flip side, it's the same thing. So you you could do anything you want. Like if you could just be bad for unlimited,
The
you
the biggest part is like self control, which it's something I've always had like pretty like I've always done really well when it's come to willpower and being disciplined when I'm focused and I'm locked in, which at this point I am. Um, but yeah, so it's like I just need to stay on track and make sure like to avoid these little small habits, which for me it's kind of like women. And because you know me, like I'm like normally when it's just like me and you or just like me and guys, like I'm just chill, you know, I'm very like relaxed. When it comes to like women or like when I go to when I travel, I there's like a switch in me that just flips. It's kind of like I'm trying to like bring that switch out a little bit more on the like the YouTube stuff because
yeah,
it's not this is like a persona or fake. It's just like I have like two sides, you know.
yeah.
Normally I'm like chill, relaxed, but then I have like that party me,
Do you
which
think it's alcohol induced?
I don't really drink much. It's like the only time I really drink heavy, it's if like I'm traveling or if I'm in Colombia,
Yeah.
and or if I'm like if I go out to a club, which I honestly I don't club much.
Ryan actually is like this too. Ryan like I was he gets like he turns into like a little crack addict when the girls come around. He just
Hmm.
starts acting like different and he's like antsy and he like wants to talk to every girl and like whatever.
Yeah.
Um
Now for me, it's not so much antsy. It's just I become more talkative without like girls around me. If it's just like you, me, or some of my friends, like I'll talk, but I'm more chill. But when it comes to like women, I don't know. It's just something like I just not that I become so much more talkative. I guess I become more flirtatious and
it kind of like it gets you I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. It kind of gets you off of your like it takes your blinders off and you're kind of
yeah.
like all over the place and like you're vulnerable, right? Is that a
Hmm.
good word for it?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. But also it just brings more of like my fun side out,
Yeah.
my personality. Obviously I'm a guy, so I'm attracted to women, and most of the time when I am around women, I'm around like good looking ones. So
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think that women are like, you know, a big part of what women represent to men is temptation, you know?
yeah, yeah, temptation is huge, and
They get you like it's like, "Oh, especially it's like when you're single and you're still like available.
yeah,
It's like the whole peacocking thing. It's like, "Oh, I want to impress these some of these girls. Like I got to spend money. I got to
yeah,
like do this, I got to do that, you know, and it kind of gets your guard down and it kind of gets you focused on something different. And it really does. It feels like you're a totally different person, huh?
yeah. And then in my situation, like the position that I'm in is some of these girls contact me for like work, whether it's like model stuff or just because I'm able to connect them to certain jobs like
Yeah.
freelance work. And so most of the time it's like I look at my phone and it's just like have a whole bunch of like hot girls like, hey, what's up, how you been, haven't seen you in a while.
Kind of flirting.
Yeah, kind of flirting. Also, I know they're just like, I need money, I need you to find me some work, like what's going on,
Yeah.
hit me up. So at the same time I know it's a little bit of both, but since I've been in kind of like this situation for a couple of years now, I just have a lot of temptation.
I think that's like a really good like topic to dive into maybe for another episode or like in general, but like I think that's a big reason why you see a lot of really successful men are in like good stable relationships
Mm,
because you know they don't have that mode anymore at all
yeah.
where they're like trying to impress girls, focusing on which girl they should date next, or like dating three different girls at the same time. If you think about how much energy that takes, and it's just hours in the day, right? And brain power, right? How much swiping or
Yeah.
messaging or like how much can you do? And like you're suppressing it now because you're like laser focused on a goal, but
Hmm.
you can only suppress it so long, right? Unless you're in like a good relationship with your wife or whatever, like I am, you know, where I don't have to suppress that ever. It's just
Yeah.
I have my wife and then I basically spend the rest of my time trying to like work and add value to my life, you know?
Right now it's 100% goals, so I'm just avoiding them like 100%. But in the past, yeah, it's something that's always made me go back into from being in really good shape to getting out of shape is I haven't been able to control that factor of like balance between, okay, I know I need to like stay focused in the gym, but at the same time, like this party on the weekend, or there's some event that's gonna be like 2 or 3 days, and I'm gonna go off the rails, and I just can't find a way to get back on, my workout routine and eating, the right way, and it's because of like I've had, I guess you could say, haven't been disciplined. I haven't had a healthy relationship with maybe being focused on certain goals and tasks. So I tend to like always go back because of the party lifestyle has always been there for me.
I think a big piece of that is people want to get, like, when you get fat or broke and you get to the point where you're like disgusted with where you're at,
Yeah.
then it's really easy to like get not really easy, but that's where most people are able to get motivated.
Mm-hmm.
They're fucking disgusted with their financial situation or the way their body looks, and they shape up, they clean up their act, they start grinding, and then they get their money right, they get their body into a position where they're like sustainable, manageable, and then maybe they get the girlfriend, maybe they get the car, they get like level 1 or level 2 achieved, and then they just slow down, and they're like they can't figure out a way. It's kind of like you have to trick your mind, right? So you're like, I'm at a point where I'm not disgusted with myself. Like I've gotten a girl, I look good enough to get a girlfriend that I'm attracted to. I've gotten a job, or I've gotten my business back on track to the point where I'm making enough money to like live okay or live nicely. And then most people can maybe like maintain that, or then they slowly slide back to bad, disgusted version, and then they have to like correct, and then they kind of spend their whole life between like maintenance and like getting out of shape or out of getting broke, and then just like barely bringing it back. I think the key, if you have high ambitions, like I feel like everyone says that they have high ambitions, like, I want to be shredded, I want to be a multimillionaire, blah, blah, blah. And then the key is like, how do you get to the point of like going from like level 2 complacency to being like, no, this is, I'm nowhere near what I actually want. I'm gonna still tell myself whatever, like I'm disgusted with myself. This is totally unacceptable. I'm nowhere near what I want to achieve. There's like, I don't know, there's some way of like having that Jedi mind trick where you convince yourself that you're just still way far from where you want to be.
Yeah, that's I guess like, for me, a lot of it contributes to I've had a lot of free time over the last couple of years. So with that free time, I've like for me, fun is it's not necessarily clubbing, it's traveling, and I love to travel to Colombia, women, and I have friends there, and it's just cheaper and it's fun. So that's one of the biggest issues I've had in the last couple of years is
for you, it's like a very clear thing. It's like you stay focused.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you're happy, and like whatever, and then you go and you travel for 2 weeks. Sometimes you've been down there a month, and you kind of like just let loose, and you go right back to where you were, and then you have to come back here, grind again, and then. But like, how do you feel about that cycle? Do you think that that's a fucked up cycle?
No, yeah, it's honestly, I want to get to the point where, which I know this time I'm gonna get there, because a lot of things have changed in this time. It's I'm working with you, and also I have to be more focused. I can't just like do whatever I want all the time. So I have like responsibilities and tasks that I have to keep in mind of. So I know I can travel here and there, but I know I'm not gonna go like a month and a half, and just completely just stop working out and just start drinking and then try to go out and party as much as possible and try to meet up with friends and throw these like crazy parties, which I mean, I'm not saying I'm over that. I'm not sure when I'll be over that exactly. I still want to have fun, but
like the context where it's like you've talked about it with me, you've thought about it introspectively, you're like kind of for the first time aware of this cycle.
I mean, I know it exists, but I haven't like spoken about it, and I haven't realized how much of a hindrance it's been in my life.
Yeah.
So like, now that we're speaking about it, I realize like, wow, this is something that I have to like, keep control of. So the next time that I travel, whether it's Colombia or any other place that I work, that I end up deciding to go, that I just don't completely forget about what's important to me.
Yeah, like maintain and like realizing like if I do this for, a month straight, then I'm like I'm going to have to,
For me, it was like, no big deal. I'll go to Colombia, party, and I'll just come back to Miami. And whenever I'm in Miami, I'm pretty focused for whatever I'm doing. I'm not really like out of control. But when it comes to like when I travel, I do get out of control.
But if you think like we both like stocks and we do trading
Yeah.
a little bit stuff, if you think about it like a graph, right, of like a coin or a
Mhm.
stock, like you're, the best graphs are like up
Mhm.
and then down a little bit, right? But not
Yeah.
not down as much as they went up, right? So like up 100%, down 70%, and
Yeah.
then they kind of chill for a little bit. Then up 100%, like down a little bit, but they're still now up here, and then up,
My
and then back
my
down.
graph is like a crypto graph.
Right,
It's,
but we're going like
yeah.
what we're talking about is just like up 100%,
Yeah.
down 100%,
Uh huh.
up 100%, down 100%, and after 5 years, you're still. And by the way, this is not just guys like this. We're not talking just. I think we're talking. If you're on the same page as me, it's you're not talking about just weight loss. You're
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
life, like
Mhm.
everything in life, like relationships,
Yeah.
bank accounts,
Mhm.
health, overall health, just all these things like getting like having the perspective and being like, okay, I've done like I've been an adult, because like also you're 36, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm 43. I don't really think as a man, especially like you're not really like an adult until you're kind of like in your mid to late 20s. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's outliers, but like most men in America kind of dicking around and just not even thinking about like life and reality until you're kind of like 30, I would say, is when
Yeah.
you start thinking about it. So you're really only like adult male for like 6 years. I'm really only like an adult male for like 10 to 13 years. Especially I was a late bloomer. I feel like you're kind of a late bloomer
Mhm.
too. So I think it's important to realize that too, and not be like, oh, like I'm a failure. Like, no. Like,
Yeah.
and now I'm seeing a lot of content like life begins at 40 as a man, which I think there's a lot of truth to that. So anyway, the reason that I bring that up is like you're now 6-7 years in. I'm like 10, 13 years in. Um, you're just now to the point where you can see the pattern, right? Like
Yeah.
these are like cycles that take a year or two each. So you're now, it's for the first time that you're realizing the pattern. I'm kind of starting to realize the pattern now for a few years. And now is the time, now that you identify it and you're like, you can like zoom out and
Yeah.
see your life and these cycles where you can actually finally, you can say, okay, I can make a change now.
Yeah, no, I'm at the point. Yeah, exactly how you said. I'm at a point now where I have enough data over the last couple of years to see what's wrong, what's right, and it's the biggest sticking point for me. It's a pattern I've repeated for the last 3 years. It's good for 3-4 months, and then I completely wreck myself for 1 or 2. And I didn't care much at those times because it really was like the first time in my life that I was traveling so much, so I was kind of more enjoying it. But now that traveling is kind of normal to me, I kind of want to have a healthy relationship with that. Similar to what I spoke about last podcast, which for me was like a big eye opener, was my relationship with food. I'm also realizing that with traveling and handling certain situations, I have to have a better relationship in general, because I don't want my graph to be 100 up and then 90 down, and then just have like minimal progress over the next couple of years when it comes to like all aspects: health, finances, mental mindset.
I want to have to like be like, oh, I can't travel because if I travel, my
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
life's gonna come unraveling. Like you want to be able to like go out to a restaurant and be
Mhm.
like, look, like I'm probably gonna go over on my calories tonight. Like you're gonna go to Medellin and you're gonna like, have some alcohol, be temptation, turn into the Dave that's the Dave around girls,
Yeah.
but like not completely wreck all the progress that you've made over the last 6 months in 3 weeks.
And I follow like influencers on fitness on Instagram, and I never really thought about like how much dedication it really takes. Obviously, like they're tailored to like that industry, so it's money for them. But still, it's not easy to,
No, it's not.
especially
And a
when you're
lot of
making
them
all
are
that
on gear
money.
too, so it's definitely
Yeah, yeah,
makes
that's
it a
so.
lot easier, but still it still takes compromise.
Yeah,
You know, they still can't be out drinking alcohol and go to the restaurant every night.
yeah. Especially if you're huge, most of the time you have like good brand deals. You have a lot of responsibilities. And you also have a lot of temptation because you have a lot of, especially if you're big on social media, you have a lot of like women after you. Then you have the money in place, so it takes a lot of like discipline. So I have a lot of respect for those people, even though they might be taking shortcuts with the gear.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing also too is to realize that a lot of people, are taking the shortcuts or they're doing a lot of misleading things like
Yeah,
taking a lot of gear or using a lot of Photoshop, and then those people I feel like they get a little bit of success but internally they're probably miserable, and I feel that being on the righteous path is worth it, and it's harder for sure, but getting there, I mean, I'm sure some of the people online that are fitness influencers are crushing it and
yeah,
really completely natural, and those people probably feel absolutely amazing.
yeah. Since I was a photographer for models, I did Photoshop, but I didn't really realize how much people edit their photos online.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's really crazy, and that's something that I've realized for sure. You see some people in real life, and after their photos online, a lot of the photos online are just from like 7 years ago. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like you see a girl who like posting pictures when she was 27, and then you see her
You
real
know,
life,
what's
she's
you know what's funny
36.
was it was here in Miami. I went out on a date, and I took a picture with a girl. And then I was like, hey, send me because she took it on her phone. I was like, send me the picture. So before she sent me the picture, she edited herself and she edited me. I was like, hold on, I'm not this skinny. Somehow she made like my waist a little bit smaller because she told me, like, oh, if I would have made my waist smaller, the photo would look too fake. So I had to adjust both of our waist. I was like, wow, so
That's
crazy.
great, and it looked like 20 pounds, right?
Yeah, it looked like I was like 10 pounds, 15 pounds less. And like my shirt, I was like, hold on, I mean, I wasn't fat at that point, but my shirt was a little tight. I know for sure I had like a small little gut. And she edited that picture. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But it doesn't mean like I think a lot of people are like, oh, everything online is fake, and so I'm not gonna try that hard and like have these high ambitions to like get a six pack or get really lean because no one else is really doing that. It's just all fake. I think that's the wrong approach. I think it's just to realize like don't don't let the stuff online influence you into making decisions that are not like true to yourself, right? So like
Yeah.
don't if like somebody that you know or whatever is posting pictures and they look sick, like don't let that convince you to take steroids, for example, or don't let like someone's if your girlfriend got a BBL and now she's getting all this attention, don't but you don't ever really wanted one. Don't let that like
No, for sure. That's why like what I said earlier today was I'm on Instagram right now mainly because I'm like, handling your content, but for the most part I kind of avoid like Instagram. I've realized this for a long time, but Instagram is just it's just like highlights of people's lives, and for the most part it's normally always fake because I've had friends, but I've also like dated girls where they're living normal lifestyles, but then I look at their Instagram, it's like
it makes it look like they're like the
Lamborghini
most glamorous shit
this,
ever.
Lamborghini Ferrari that, and I'm at this spot.
Misleading. It's
Yeah,
very misleading. I mean, it's fucked up. But anyway, we're not gonna go too crazy on today's episode. I'm kind of like I'm going back to business.
yeah,
Like I'm gonna be laser focused this week. And I don't know. Part of me wants to do a midweek episode, and a part of me just wants to say, like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't deserve to make any content because I was bad last week,
mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna just wait and see how good I can be until Monday. That's
Yeah.
kind of like where my head is at. I think we're just gonna make content like other content, like law content, lifestyle content this week. Make
Yeah.
content kind of every day. Stay busy. And yeah. So I was 208.6 this morning. I think right. Is that what it was?
No, I saw the picture, but I didn't see the details.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, I think here's my picture, 208.6. So, I'm pissed. I'm not discouraged. I'm just mad and I'm laser focused. So, yeah, that's That's all I have to say about that. Where's your head at?
Yeah, just make small adjustments, which maybe increase my deficit by 150 to 200 calories. I feel fine. I'm not hungry at all, so I can definitely lower the deficit, dropping about 1 to 2 pounds per week. This is the first week where it's like less than 1 pound, so it's just adjusting my deficit.
Nice, nice, nice. All right, that's a wrap. We'll see you guys next week.